Good morning. Hello, I'm Nancy Williams, Principal at ASAP Solutions Group, LLC. We are an IT business solutions company headquartered in Atlanta, servicing 42 states and India. We are a very proud sponsor of the Excalibur Awards because we believe it is so important to celebrate technology innovation occurring every day right here in our own state. I'm pleased to introduce today's keynote speaker, Mr. Jeff Sprecher, founder, chairman, CEO of IntercontinentalExchange, or ICE. If you don't know ICE, you should. Headquartered here in Atlanta, the company operates internet-based marketplaces which trade futures and over-the-counter energy and commodity contracts, as well as derivative financial products. ICE serves global markets for agricultural, credit, currency, emissions, energy, and equity index markets in more than 70 countries. In 2010, Fortune named ICE the fastest growing company for financial services. Mr. Sprecher started out in the power industry. In fact, for 14 years, he served as president of Western Power Group Incorporated. As a power plant developer, he recognized the need among energy market participants for an accessible, standardized electronic marketplace for OTC energy contracts. So in 1997, he purchased Continental Power Exchange, and he launched ICE 3 years later. By 2005, he led ICE to its first public offering. Mr. Sprecher has been characterized by those who know him best as an innovator whose transparent style of management has fostered a company-wide esprit de corps. He is a master strategist whose initiatives have enabled ICE to expand from a single asset class energy into 5 asset classes today. Jeff Sprecher's leadership has been nationally recognized. In addition to praise from publications, including Business Week and Institutional Investor, he was selected as a finalist in Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year program in 2002. ICE is not widely known for its production of technology, but its technological strengths and expertise have enabled it to become an incredible force in the financial services industry. So we are pleased to hear from Mr. Sprecher today as we honor other Georgia companies who have also used technology in an innovative way to change how they do business. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Jeff Sprecher.
Thank you all. I'm going to try not to use this, and so I have a little more freedom. First of all, I'm not a professional breakfast speaker, as may have been advertised. I'm a small business entrepreneur, and I thought that, well, a number of people here in the audience twisted my arm to be here today to talk to you all. And when I asked, what the heck do you want me to talk about, they said, people say you're interesting, so just say something interesting. So I thought that what I would talk about is a little bit about the history of my company and how technology allowed us to build this firm. Not to do a commercial for our firm, but because I want to say something interesting. So let me start with the slideshow if we can get that going. First, start with the name of the company. One of the interesting things about exchanges is that they all go by acronyms. And when we started the company, in this country there was the New York Stock Exchange, the New York Mercantile Exchange, the New York Board of Trade, the Chicago Board of Trade, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And we decided to be a little bit more audacious, and instead of putting the name of a city in front of our exchange, we decided to call it the Intercontinental Exchange. And we had this vision that you could trade around the world 24 hours a day, and so we picked the audacious name. But one of the things that we couldn't do is call ourselves ICE because somebody had trademarked that. And in fact, ice.com is a diamond jewelry store. So we call ourselves Intercontinental Exchange for trademark issues, but because traders insist on using acronyms for exchanges, we're known as ICE. And when we went public in 2005, we chose the ticker symbol ICE, so we do have some legal standing to call ourselves that. Let me move forward here with the slides. I want to show you a little bit. Again, I don't want to talk about the company, but particularly, but I want to level set you on what we've been able to do so that some of the stories I'm going to tell you resonate. And this is a graph of our revenues. And in 2004, which was our 4th year of business, that one of those little tiny bars down there shows that we went over 100 million in revenue. And if you look at the last 3 bars on that graph, 2008, 2009, and 2010, which were our revenues in, what admittedly was probably one of the worst recessions of the lifetimes of most of us in the room, you see that we've been able to grow and grow substantially. And we now do business in 70 countries. We have a $9 billion market cap on the NYSE, and we do that with about 1,000 employees. And all of that has been enabled because of technology. We don't have employees in 70 countries. We have screens and internet access to 70 countries and legal standing in 70 countries. And allows us to sit in an office building that's about a quarter mile from here, just across the freeway, and drive this kind of revenues. So I want to talk a little bit about how we got to where we got, which I think is hopefully is part of the interesting story. As mentioned in my introduction, I was a power plant developer living in California, in Southern California. I started a company with some guys I met in business school, graduate school, and we built power plants. And one of the things that happened in the power industry is that natural gas became the marginal fuel for electric power. So in the heat of the summer or in the coldest days of the winter, when we all demand electric power, the fuel that will fuel the power plants in the United States is natural gas. And so the price of electricity is highly correlated to the price of natural gas, and as a power plant owner, we wanted to hedge our price risk. And when we did that, we would go into the marketplace, and there were only 1 or 2 companies that we could talk to that would be willing to write what I now know to be an over-the-counter swap contract, but basically a contract that would guarantee us natural gas over a long period of time. There were only a couple of companies that would do that, and one of the frustrating things was that those companies had a basically monopoly or a grip on that market, and they could charge us whatever they wanted, and they could charge terms whatever they wanted, and consequently they were so onerous that we largely went unhedged. And I thought there had to be kind of a better way to do that there had to be other people in the world that we could talk to. We were a small company. We just didn't know how to access them. So I went to the largest exchange, commodity exchange that existed in the United States at that time, which was the Chicago Board of Trade. And they had one of those galleries that was above this open outcry trading floor that you see. And you could look down and you could see all these guys in these funny jackets yelling and screaming, this cacophony of noise. And they were trading commodities. And largely the Chicago Board of Trade trades corn and soybeans. They also trade the 10-year Treasury futures and bills and notes that really determine long-term interest rates in this country. But these guys were global commodity guys, but they're all wearing funny jackets and they're sitting on this floor in Chicago. And this tour that you could take to go look at them was basically designed for 4th graders. And I was up there with a bunch of 4th graders, and there was this bin of documents. And I took some of these documents, and it discussed how does a market work. And it showed the guys in funny jackets, and it showed the various hand signals, buy, sell. And it also had a document there that described clearing. And clearing is the thing that happens after you do a trade. And in the old days was plumbing. It was back office plumbing that was done after you did trades, and really was not particularly thought of as a business. And for those that don't understand trading, plumbing is the plumbing of clearing is like PayPal on eBay. After you do the trade, you go into PayPal, and PayPal allows you to move the money. And unlike PayPal, what a clearinghouse does, because you're trading commodities, theoretically everything that you're buying and selling is identical, because the definition of a commodity is that it's identical. So they can hold the commodity until the other guy gives the money, and then they can release the commodity. So unlike PayPal, they actually guarantee that you'll receive the goods if you pay the dough. And the nice thing about it is that they run that pay and collect system every day. So you can buy 1 day's worth of product, and you can go in the next day and buy again and buy again and buy again. And so I said to myself, that's an interesting idea, because I can't find guys that will do these long-term contracts with me. But there is a system that exists in the world where you can go in and do something every day. And I said, that's what we need to do. Now, I'm an engineer by education, by undergrad degree in engineering, and I was looking at this in 1997. And 1997, for a lot of you in the room, is the year that when you dialed up on your 1200 baud modem, you got a busy signal at AOL. And we were all cuckoo in 1997 about getting modems and getting online and getting AOL accounts. And we were getting frustrated. We were getting busy signals. And so it did not make sense for me to try to build a room with guys in funny jackets to try to do what I wanted to do. I just assumed you would do it on a computer. And not knowing how to do it, I found a little company here in Atlanta that was owned by Mid-American Energy. Mid-American Energy is a utility company, and the way that most people know it is it's the utility company that Warren Buffett owns. And Mid-American Energy had this little tiny company that's located a quarter mile from here. And that company was trying to balance the electric grid on behalf of utilities. And it had 63 electric utilities that had hooked to this thing on a hardwired T1 network that was managed by WorldCom. And this little company built workstations. They bought motherboards. And you remember the days when you buy a motherboard, you'd pick out your processor, and you'd figure out if you want a desktop box or a little box or a big box and how many floppies you want to put in. So they had this room where they were building all this crap and hooking it to these T1 lines. And I looked at it and said, gee, you got 63 electric utilities that are hooked together on this network. That is a very, very powerful thing. The only problem with this company is it was losing $1 million a month. So I went to the Mid-American guys and bought the company. And was living in California, and the Mid-American CFO said to me, what are you going to do with the management team? And I said, they're losing $1 million a month, and I can't afford $1 million a month. And I gotta take costs out of that thing from the first day, and so I don't want them. And I really hadn't met them, but I just knew that I couldn't afford the salaries they were paying, and I figured I had to start over, but I just wanted the network. So we made a deal that the CFO said, I want to be the one to fire the management team. And I said, gee, I don't want to deny you that great opportunity. So he had a personal grudge with the $1 million a month guys. And so we came out here. I flew out here on Southwest Airlines. He came in on his corporate jet. And we met in this office over here. And the deal was, and of course they're a utility, and Warren Buffett's involved, so they have all those guys with those little earbuds in their black suits, and they're in the corners carrying guns and stuff. And so they escort the management team out and take them down into the cafeteria that's in this building that we're in, and fire them. And I walk in and get the 46 employees that were there and say to them, I'm the new owner of the company. And things are going to be different, and all the management's gone, and I've got this big vision for this big idea on how we're going to trade electric power and natural gas and blah, blah, blah. And they were shocked, to say the least, and not particularly happy. And so after my little speech, I went into an office there that one of the managers had vacated, and I was sitting down, and I want to tell you a story about how you go about finding the chief technology officer for a company that can have the kind of results that we have.